What if you could have the best night of the year and change a child's life forever? Join us at Winetopia, Northwest Arkansas's premier wine, beer, and bourbon tasting party, raising funds for a children's home in Kenya through the local nonprofit Restore Humanity. Sip world-class wines, local craft beers, premium spirits, gourmet food, and even delicious mocktails. Join us Friday, October 10th at the Stonebreaker Barn on Markham Hill in Fayetteville. Every ticket is a toast to giving kids love, hope, and opportunity. Get yours now at iamnorthwestarkansas.com/Winetopia 2025. Winetopia, a good time for a great cause. Support for this episode comes from Signature Bank.
Hey, this is Gary Head at Signature Bank of Arkansas. We started this bank 20 years ago to serve our communities with local decision-making and personal relationships. From Fayetteville to Jonesboro, we've grown to 210 teammates, and we're proud to serve all of our customers, including through Banco C, our bilingual banking service. Call 479-684-3700 or visit signature.bank and tell us you heard about us on I Am Northwest Arkansas.
This episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas is supported by the Walton Family Foundation's Home Region program, dedicated to building a vibrant, inclusive region through community-led work in schools, housing, entrepreneurship, culture, and transportation. Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and today on the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast, we're diving deep into the future of transportation in our rapidly growing region with Joel Gardner, a veteran transit system expert who's helping shape the way we move through Northwest Arkansas. With extensive experience managing public transit transportation systems, including successful implementations in Reno, Nevada, among other places, Joel brings a unique perspective on how we can transform our region's mobility landscape. As Northwest Arkansas continues its explosive growth, Joel's insights on connecting our communities through efficient public transit couldn't be more timely or relevant. Get ready for an engaging discussion about the future of transportation in our corner of Arkansas. Hey folks, and welcome back to I Am Northwest Arkansas. I'm sitting here with Joel Gardner from Ozark Regional Transit. Joel, how are you doing today?
It's a wonderful day in Northwest Arkansas. It's really fun to be here and to do my job.
Yeah, it really is. Now, your title here at ORT is what?
Executive Director.
Okay. All right. So ED. So it all kind of falls on your shoulders.
Pretty much. In my old world, I would be the HMFIC.
Okay.
Which means I do everything. Really.
Yeah,
really.
I got you. Now, and I love that. I mean, we just came into this new building, which is right here on East Robinson on the east side of Springdale, going down 429, just a little past the Don Tyson School of Innovation and some other locations that are right here off of East Robinson. But beautiful, beautiful facility. You can see the ORT vans out front, and you guys are obviously doing something right here.
This building is actually 4 years old, which is really, really cool to see it. See somebody look at it as a brand new building still, because we use this building damn near 20 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And it should have a whole heck of a lot more wear and tear on it, but we do a great job of keeping it up, which tells me time and time again that we are excellent stewards of the taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
We're not letting things go to waste. We take value in everything that the taxpayer has allowed us to go ahead and operate, whether it's the vehicles or the facility itself. We put so much value into what we've been given, and we hope people recognize us as excellent stewards.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you guys are doing a great job. And I think even the room that we're in, it looks like it probably serves multiple things including maybe driver training, among other things. So
we do board meetings here. We do driver training here. We have small meetings like this, and we actually use it as a community engagement space where we will invite people that don't have their own meeting space to come here and use our meeting space.
You're another place that does that.
It is self-serving.
Yeah.
The reason it is self-serving because there's a lot of times that the organizations that will look for a space, we don't charge them for it, and we do ask them that they bring enough cookies to pass around if that's what they're offering. But there's a lot of folks that just don't know that we exist.
Yeah.
And when they find out what Ozark Regional Transit is, we generally get a couple of minutes to talk to some of the folks one-on-one. They then become interested in what we are really doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it is important, and you guys aren't the first organization and or company that I've heard of, whether for-profit or nonprofit, that has opened up their facility for outside traffic, if you will, right? And so I think people need to know that they can take advantage of it. I know Theater Square does that. Stuart Collier at Collier Real Estate, they do that as well. There's a number of Ozark Natural Foods does it. They open up their tap room for different organizations to come in and meet. And so I think it's kind of cool to know that there's so many resources in our neighborhood. So, but the resource that I really want to focus on today is transportation and transit systems. And I think for people listening to this, those of you that know me, you know that I came from Boston, which we call it the T.
Right.
And for 17 years, I experienced living with accessibility to pretty much go wherever I wanted to go, whether it was on the commuter rail, whether it was on the physical T, which is the subway, which I think is the oldest subway in North America.
Really?
Yeah. And so I think it suffices to say you take for granted when you have access to that type of resource where like you don't need a car. Like
Right.
if we still lived in Boston, while my kids are always clamoring for a car here in Northwest Arkansas, they wouldn't need a car in Boston. I would be like, hey, I'll buy you a T-Pass.
Correct.
And I'll let you take the T around. And you can get most places that.
And what you learned there was that transit actually provides freedom.
Yeah.
We've talked, I'm part of the Southwest Transit Association. It's 8 states that have come together and we legislate, we meet, we talk about different things going on in different states. And one of the phrases that was coined quite a few years ago was freedom through transit. Oh,
yeah.
I
always tell people, you got your jazz. Yeah, and I do my jazz hands too. But I forget to remind people, don't tap the table because it'll pick up on the mic. But no, it's totally fine.
Understood.
So no, and I'm glad you mentioned that because we talked about that early on, and I love that concept of transit equals freedom.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you were kind of liking it to your daughter being able to get around when she wanted to go to dance class or something along those lines. And while we're still not quite there yet here, the idea is that if more people buy into, this resource of our transit system and why we need to expand it and why we need to invest in it, it's because it does create freedom for a wider body of the group of people that live here in Northwest Arkansas.
Correct. I mean, I can cite examples. The no longer being your child's chauffeur. I mean, man, that was freedom when I was in a community where my daughter was old enough and she was going to all of her after school programs and I could send her on a transit bus with a transit pass. I got, maybe it was only 30 minutes on one day, but some days it could have been 2 hours of my life back.
Yeah.
When we look at a lot of people wanting to have their parents age in place, having connectivity through transit to whether it is their senior center or their medical appointment, that type of thing, they've either got to find a way to Uber them back and forth, which gets expensive, or they've got to find, hopefully, a friend that can take care of it, or they got to take the time away from work to go ahead and run their parents alone. Why not do that through public transit? When it's done well and it's readily available, public transit does provide you freedom. And then, of course, I take a look at the college student. We've got 2 great colleges here between NWAC and University of Arkansas. We've got people that want to go to one or both of those. And to get to those locations, unless you're in walking distance, you're going to have to be a college student with a car, insurance payment, fuel payments, that type of stuff. Why not have a transit system that is beefed up enough to provide those college students freedom through transit to get to where the heck they want to go within the communities that they live.
Yeah. And it's so funny. And I'm actually living that right now with my oldest son going to NWAC. And one of the first things I looked into was, well, what buses are available to get you there?
Right.
And we're not quite there yet in terms of connectivity, but you see, that's one example of why investing in public transit does pay off in the long run.
Oh, yes, it does. And when we talk about what is the return on that investment, the return on that investment has been relayed to me time and time again by college students that have graduated from either the University of Arkansas or that have gotten their 2-year degree from NWAC that have said, I would not have been able to get my degree in A, B, C, or D if it hadn't have been for public transit. Now, what's the return on that investment? Well, that individual is now doing a job in one of our 4 major cities or 5 minor cities, depending on where they're at. They're actually employed. They're paying their taxes. They're renting their own apartment. Now they may be driving their own car. They're buying fuel. The fact that they got that degree that allows them to go ahead and get a better paying job is a return on the investment.
Yeah.
It really, really is. And it's lifelong.
Yeah. So you've been here for 12 years. Tell us a little bit about Ozark Regional Transit for the uninitiated, right? Because I know there's a lot of people listening to this podcast. You've seen the buses riding around. You didn't know that there was an on-demand bus service that's available called ORT On Demand,
Yes.
which what my kids love. It's like ordering an Uber without the sticker shock to your wallet. And
Yes.
that's the only way I can describe it.
Yes.
And it literally does work like an Uber in the cities that it serves. But give the uninitiated just an overall look into what Ozark Regional Transit actually entails here in Northwest Arkansas.
Okay. Historically, we've been around for 30 years. There's a lot of people that don't know that we've been around for 30 years. When I stepped into my position here at Ozark Regional Transit, and I'm going to call it 12. So I was about 2013, 2014 is when I stepped into Northwest Arkansas. Public transit was billed as a social service for people in need only. I've been in public transit systems and have worked them where it is a choice to use public transit. A lot of folks have a car in their driveway. They choose not to put that car to use every day, all the time.
Yeah.
They have multiple cars, but they choose not to put them into employment every day, all the time. We were heavily reliant on the have-tos when I first started working here. The have-to riders, they have no other choice. The transit service is marginal at best. And so I started a full court press on 2 things. Number one, proving that we could be fiscally responsible with the small amount of money we receive as a local match. And number 2, to change the stigma of public transit from a social service to the freedom through transit mentality, where we want people to choose to ride public transit. And we've got some great success, and it's truly evident right now when we take a look at what we're doing up in Benton County between the cities of Rogers and Bentonville, where we're constantly seeing increases in ridership because we've got a concentrated area of working professionals and people that need transit all using it at the same time. And we've got year to year right now, from June of 24 to June of 25, I think we're at a 57% increase in ridership.
Wow.
Because we finally have gotten it done right. Our goal is to do the same type of impact in Springdale and Fayetteville as we've done in Bentonville and Rogers. And then, of course, the next step would be to go ahead and do true community connections, whether it be up and down 71 business and even more service along Interstate 49. We really need to put that investment into play for Northwest Arkansas. We're proving it can be done. We've changed the stigma, and we've proven that we are great stewards of taxpayers' funds. And my hope is that as we move over in the next couple of years, we do get an independent funding stream for Ozark Regional Transit, because right now it is every year asking, please, sir, may I have some more kind of mentality from city to city and county to county. And it's not always successful of getting more or getting what we need.
Does the state give money to ORT?
So the state has a couple of programs that we do get some money through. I'm going to throw out some acronyms out there and some top secret DOT codes and FTA codes. But through the state, we get two things, two lines of funding. Number one is 5311 funding, and that's rural funding for public transit. And the other one is we get a portion of the tax through the rental car program. And that portion of the tax through the rental car program and the 5311 funding for Ozark Regional Transit mount up to about $300,000 a year.
Okay.
Our biggest portion of funding not in Northwest Arkansas comes from the Federal Transit Administration. The FTA gives us 5307 money, and that's right now plus or minus 10%, $2 million a year. Then the rest of it comes from the local investment and from private grants. So south to north, there's where you get me lying. About $850,000 from Fayetteville, around $600,000 from Springdale, $600,000 from Rogers, and $500,000 from Bentonville.
Okay.
And then we have a private grant that we get about $1.3 million from.
Okay. All right. So there is some money here, but more could always be used.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. So the 5307 funding that the FTA aligns for different transit systems or allocates, that original intention was to assist with capital expenditures, buying buses, buying buildings, that type of thing. It was never intended to be used for operational support.
Okay.
Paying salaries, benefits, lights, that kind of thing. The 100 Bus Coalition a few years ago put together an initiative to ask for a portion of that federal tax, if you have less than 100 buses, to be used for operational support, which it can be done now. And so we do use a portion of that for operational support. If the 100 Bus Coalition had not gotten into effect about 10 years ago, we would only be able to operate off of what we got locally and through our grants. We have a ton of money sitting back there to buy stuff with, but we're allowed to use that FTA 5307 for operational support, and it's still not enough because what you see in Northwest Arkansas is 1 hour headways, except for up in Bentonville between, I'm going to say NWAC and Bentonville Community Center, we have great frequency up there. But we're finding out that the more frequency we have, it's going to, of course, cost more money. For the cities to really do, in my opinion, a great job of supporting transit in Northwest Arkansas, we have to take the about $6.5 million a year budget that we get for all of Northwest Arkansas and apply that to any one of the cities. So we've got 4 major cities. 6 and 6 is 12, 12 and 12 is 24. Basically, we're looking at $24 million a year that would really do Northwest Arkansas very, very well for transit.
Across the board.
Across the board.
Yeah.
We do enough right now to do it well in one city.
Okay.
Instead of having it scattered from hell to breakfast and back right now throughout Northwest Arkansas.
Speaking of one city, it seems like, because I know ORT On Demand, are they in every city?
Yes, sir.
They are. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So if I have the ORT On Demand app in Springdale, I can order a ride from one place to another within a geographic region.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Consider it a polygon. Each city has its own polygons. If you're in one polygon, you can operate freely within that polygon, whether it's Springdale, Fayetteville, Rogers, Bentonville. The only ones right now that really connect, we have 2 connection points, NWAC, and I'm going to call it, oh my gosh, did we do it at, there's a donut shop in Walnut and Walton in right where Bentonville, Rogers connect. Anyways, those 2 polygons will connect, but you still have to, if you're in Rogers, order a trip from wherever you're at in Rogers to NWAC, then get on and order a trip from NWAC to your destination in Bentonville.
Okay.
It's just difficult to have those buses cross the zones because if we allow those on-demand transit vehicles to get buried into all of the selections in one zone, then we're leaving the other one naked.
That makes sense.
So We're going to attempt to do the same thing in Fayetteville and Springdale, and we're looking at a couple of places that we can actually join those. I think one of them would be down at the Botanical Gardens, and the other one would be on the other side of Lake Fayetteville, somewhere around Northwest Arkansas Mall, that we're looking to stretch those zones so that they connect to each other.
Would that make it easier so that somebody in Fayetteville that maybe goes to the Springdale campus of NWAC would be able to maybe go either to the mall or to the Botanical Gardens and then make a connection with another bus that will take them over to that NWAC campus where the naturals are?
If we get stretched over there that far.
I know that's a lot. So.
I hate the term fiscally restrained or constrained, but that's what we are right now. We can only grow as much as we are financed for. You talk about going over to the NWAC and the ballpark area. I get inquiries on a regular basis of new places to grow transit into and or to provide more frequency for public transit.
I mean, look at all the apartments that are coming up along that road.
Oh my gosh.
Across from where Children's Hospital is.
Yes.
And the Naturals. And then basically that block above the light where the Naturals are is all brand new development.
Yes.
And behind it, before you get there, like over by, there's a couple of areas there right off of the highway there off of Don Tyson at that bottom end. I mean, there's just one apartment complex after another.
Yep. And the problem that we as Northwest Arkansans, is the traffic stall. Oh, wow, it would be really cool to see a 40-foot bus up and down some of these roads with 30 to 40 people in it, as opposed to the 30 to 40 cars that it takes to get these people up and down these roads. We need to be able to make our connections from where people are to where they want to be, housing, entertainment, work, that type of thing. We can't pave our way out of this thing. I don't know what the plans are for 412. I would say west of Interstate 49 in Springdale. But I know the reality today is it sucks. Going east or west.
Tough. Yeah.
It is just a freaking nightmare. And especially if you're trying to cross traffic so that you can get from one area to another and you need to make a left out of your parking lot, it's better to make a right, go down to the nearest area where you can safely make a U-turn through a parking lot and then start heading the other direction.
I'm noticing that a lot more now when I'm going west on 412 coming from Fayetteville, and it's driving me through roads that I would never go through before, like Waze or Google Maps will take you on these shortcuts to cut through to avoid the traffic that exists on 412 kind of between the Chick-fil-A, the new Chick-fil-A there by the Sam's and through Tawnytown.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just a freaking nightmare.
Yeah.
Anybody that's driven it knows.
I think everybody that's listening to this that's familiar with that area, they know it all too well.
Yep. And we have, the unfortunate thing is we have a lot of areas like that throughout Northwest Arkansas that public transit is not going to solve the problem. But if we can take 7% of the vehicles off the road, 7% really looks a lot thinner on the road than what they look right now. I mean, that's the goal, that I can get 7% of the vehicle traffic off of the road, whether it's on the highway, whether it's on the side streets or the third layer streets. So
yeah, I mean, that's the goal, basically. Yes. Yeah. So can we talk just a little bit about, and we've kind of alluded to some of them, but like right now, as you look on your plate of things that you have to do, what are the most significant challenges facing public transportation development in Northwest Arkansas? And when you and I spoke originally on the phone about doing this interview, one of the things that I brought up to you was, man, it would be so great if we had like a monorail or some type of subway or transit system that would just link up the top of Northwest Arkansas with the bottom of Northwest Arkansas and kind of build out from there.
Right.
And, while it seems logical, there are some challenges to, seeing something like that come to pass.
So wish lists and reality lists, they all go together. The reality is Ozark Regional Transit pays substandard for operators. And I say pays substandard. We pay our CDL operators starting wage of $17.50 an hour. I'm not attempting to dissuade anybody from coming in and working for us because we really do provide some good benefits. We've got a great working ethic and a great working environment. And I know that doesn't cover for a short paycheck, But when you can go haul rocks for $22.50 and rocks don't scream at you, they don't yell at you, pallets don't holler at you when you do a hard break or try to avoid a dog running across the road, but humans do. And so we pay lower than anybody else, I want to say, in the CDL world here in Northwest Arkansas.
Okay.
We've got to bring our base pay up so that we can bring our mid pay up so that we can recruit additional operators. And that's one of the first things on the list. Vehicle maintenance also, we've got to get our maintenance techs where they can actually afford not to have to work on the weekends to make overtime or at another job so that they can go ahead and stay focused on us as a one job 40 to 50 hours a week. I mean, it does come down to base pay. The other thing is we've got to get our funding in for vehicles. We got to make sure that we can, right now our vehicles are average about 10 years old. When you're looking at 500,000 miles on a vehicle and it's 10 years old and it was originally designed to be only a 250,000 mile vehicle, again, good stewards of taxpayers' funds, we're doing pretty damn well because we're keeping these things going for a lot less than what it would take to buy brand new ones. But we still need to get newer vehicles out there and additional vehicles out there. And then we need to really start branching out our system so that our soft wheel system, which is rubber tires, can eventually support a hard wheel system, which is a trolley, a train, or a light rail.
Right.
A light rail is a fixed guideway. You've got point A to point B on a stick. And unless you have transportation at both ends of that stick is useless to you because you've got to move one car on the south end, you got to move another car on the north end, or you got to Uber on the south end, you got to Uber on the north end. Why don't we give people the option to use a good public transit system on the south end and the north end, and then they can use the fixed guideway system to get from north to south?
Yeah.
The inherent cost of a fixed guideway system, years ago, it was $80 million a mile. I've heard it's $200 million a mile now. But that's a turnkey operation. That is from the time you buy the dirt, to turn the dirt, to rail the dirt, to put the rail cars on there and get it down the road. But still, $200 million a mile, that's a pretty good estimate at this point in time.
Yeah. And there's a lot of miles between Fayetteville and Bella Vista.
Yes, sir.
So,
yes, sir.
Yeah, so,
and then we talk about Bella Vista. The ability for us to serve Bella Vista, that right there should be an all on-demand area. I've got friends that live up in Bella Vista, and then one of them can say, I live in the 1300 block of A Street. Well, I hop on A Street, and all of a sudden there's a canyon in front of me because A Street continues on the other side of the canyon. So we've got to be able to, we can't do fixed route up there. We've got to do on-demand transit up in that area. And we've got to have people that are much more intelligent than Google and Waze, because Google and Waze will try to get you through that canyon.
Through the canyon, yeah.
Then they're done that.
Yeah.
Damn near have the scars to prove it.
Right. So ORT On Demand has been running for how long now?
We started On Demand late 2020. We started the On Demand as the best way to put it, as a stopgap for all the problems that are occurring during COVID. We were running large fixed route buses out there. That point in time, the FTA said that in a 30-seat bus, we could only have 7 people in it. Well, why are we running a 6 mile per gallon diesel out there when we can do something different? With the help of the city of Rogers at the time, we were able to go ahead and implement the use of an on-demand software. We outgrew the software real quick. Within a year and a half, we outgrew that software. We picked up another set of software, and it has just gone crazy ever since. We do a lot of good work with on-demand, and on-demand should be used for those areas that you can't walk to get to a fixed route. In my mind, having a half-mile walk to a bus stop is not an issue. Having a quarter-mile walk to a bus stop is all right. 3/4 of a mile, you might really want to plan some time, but we need to be using the fixed route as much as possible and then using the on-demand to get you where the fixed route won't get you. And that's why we build the zones the way we do. Our on-demand service continues to grow, and we, depending on the city, Fayetteville, we serve 75% of the requests that come in. Bentonville, I think we only serve 30% of the requests that come in because it's so populous. But we attempt to get people to use either the www.ozark.org, got that plug in there. City Mapper app is another one that I really, really like us to use. We want them to look at those electronic solutions for the problem that they have in transportation of being able to choose the right way to get where they're going to go. The City Mapper app is used throughout the United States. I think they have like 20, 25 different cities on there. There might be more. But when you open the City Mapper app, it will tell you where you say, I want to go from point A to point B. It'll tell you what fixed routes are near you. It'll tell you if the on-demand transit, you're within the zone. It will tell you what bicycle shares and scooter shares are available to you if your city participates in those. And it'll tell you what the Uber and Lyft prices are. And you can do all of that from the one app. So if you don't like any of the public transit solutions and you want to go ahead and utilize Uber and Lyft, you click on your Uber and Lyft, it ports you over to your standard Uber and Lyft app, and then you go ahead and run your trip from there.
Yeah. And what's the website again? City?
That one is the City Mapper, CITYMAPPER app.
Okay. And that's .app?
No, it's actually an application on City Mapper.
Okay.
Is the whole name of it.
And it's on both Android and
yes,
Apple.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. All right. We'll put that in the show notes for people to check that out and take advantage of it. So I was not aware of that. That's a nice little tip.
We started out with the Via app, and that's just the on-demand transit. But then we were able to work with the folks over at City Mapper where they can take all the data that's coming in from Uber, Lyft, bike share, scooter share, Via on demand, our fixed route. They can take all that data, cram it into the one app for us and say, this is all of the options you have available to you. And soon to be, and this is going to be the really cool thing, soon to be available will be parking locations.
Oh, that's key.
So I'm sitting at my home. I want to find out what's available in downtown Fayetteville for my parking. And
which is always a challenge.
Yeah. It will tell you when we do it right, and we're still working on that part, because right now it'll tell you all of the places where you can park, but it won't tell you what's available. When we do it right, it'll tell you that slot B47 is available. You better get there now.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you drive into some of those underground parking spots and they have lights, or even at the airport now, where you can see a light. So if you see red lights, you know those spots aren't open. But if you see green lights, you're going to that road to go down there and park. So it makes it easier. So the City Mapper app was a huge thing for us to drag ourselves into technology. Yeah. Okay. So what is, I guess, you've talked a little bit about kind of the initiatives that you've seen implemented in Rogers and Bentonville. Specifically, what is making that so successful?
I would say it is going to be the coordination between the two cities.
Okay. So they talk to each other.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. When I first got here, my board early on reminded me that my responsibility was to make sure that I spent all the money wisely. But I also only spent Fayetteville money in Fayetteville, Springdale money in Springdale, Rogers money in Rogers, and Bentonville money in Bentonville. That's really difficult to do when you have transit that's running across city lines. We got to the point to where we've got one of the routes that starts in town A goes to town B, and its last quarter of a mile of every trip, and it does 20 trips a day, is in town B. That quarter mile 20 times a day was attributed to town B. We had to, and I call it siloing the money. We had to silo the money so well that I could tell you, hands down, we did not spend one city's dime in another city's jurisdiction. Now, with the cities of Rogers and Bentonville right now, they're like, okay, here's the money, pool it, let's make it work. And the only delineator there now really is the ODT between the two towns. Because if we did one entire polygon for Rogers and Bentonville, the valid concern and reality would be that 8 o'clock in the morning, all of the ODT vehicles end up working in downtown Rogers, and there are no requests being filled in downtown Bentonville, or vice versa. So we've got to isolate those ODT vehicles and give them their own playground. Let them connect to each other, but don't let them cross over into another jurisdiction, because there is a reality fear that one area will suck all of the resources for the better part of a period of time, and nobody in the other area would get any resources.
So you think that's probably one of the hesitancies of why some of the cities don't want to kind of collaborate that way and pool resources?
No, it'd be my personal opinion that Northwest Arkansas is a family. And in every family, everybody vies and fights for the parents, who's going to be the favorite child. And I think that's what's been going on for years, and I say up until now, where the different cities were always so concerned about only themselves and not really understanding that Northwest Arkansas is one big community with a bunch of different neighborhood names like Lowell, Centerton, Springdale, Fayetteville. And now they're actually working together. In the short time that I've been here, I've seen the cities really strive towards being one community with different personalities in each of the air quotes neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So they're doing a lot better job of, since the lines of city borders are blurred now, you can't really tell when you're going from one city to the next anymore.
Yeah.
And that siloing of what's going on in my city stays in my city, that is going away. And I see it pretty rapidly disappearing. And the leadership in all four major cities and all the minors, they're really getting together and saying, hey, we need to do this as a Northwest Arkansas as opposed to me and my city.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the power of the collective, right? When you think about the Northwest Arkansas Council and how they operate, where they look at the whole and not just one area. Same thing for the Walton Family Foundation for the home region that they focus on here and what we're trying to do. I'd be curious to know, what are your thoughts? I mean, as you look at the rapid population growth here in Northwest Arkansas, what does that say to you? Because I know, like I said, when you came here just a little bit before I did, I got here in 2014. I, in the last 10 years, have seen the growth. It's just astounding. What does that say to you as a transit planner about where we need to be in the next 10 to 15 years, that if there are some things we don't get ahead of now today, which is why this episode is important among many other conversations that you have with stakeholders around this region. But if we don't get a hold of this today, we're going to have a problem in 2040.
No doubt in my mind. We're screwed. If we don't get, I'm going to use my big boy words and not my, we're going to have to shit or get off the pot when it comes to public transit. Either invest in it all the way or just stop doing the investment, the little bitty investments that we're doing right now. We've got an opportunity to truly grow public transit before it just gets out of complete control. We still have the ability to do things along the 71 business corridor where we could build elevated transit platforms, where we could actually do some small park and rides to get people north and south, that type of thing. Give it another 5 years, all that property is going to be gone or going to be so overpriced that we're not going to be able to afford it. Yeah. And there's no way in hell I'm going to turn around and say, hey, eminent domain this stuff so that we can put public transit there. We would become the most hated person in the room.
Yeah.
We really would. And if we don't do something relatively quickly, then we shouldn't be doing anything other than helping as a social service the seniors and people with disabilities and those who have absolutely no other way to get around. And then we can force the people that are coming in as working professionals, young families, college students, to go out and buy a vehicle, which, I mean, it doesn't always work out well for a lot of people when you force them to buy a vehicle, because it's now they're going to have to make that choice between the rising cost of housing and having to support their own transportation. Now they're spending 60, 70% of their income on housing and transportation.
It's a lot of money.
And it just starts going downhill. You end up with that same mentality that you have in the Bay Area, where a studio apartment is $1,800 a month. You can't freaking afford that. I mean, that's why you have 3 roommates in a studio apartment. We will rapidly become that if we don't do something now. And I'm talking about proper land use, and I'm talking about proper investment into public transportation. I mean, we've got a great start on transportation in other modes by having a phenomenal bicycle trail. And now we got to make sure that that bicycle trail is also commuter friendly, meaning it's not just for entertainment and exercise, but it gets to the business locations and the whether it's the industrial parks, that type of thing, so that if people want to bicycle to work in an industrial park, they can without getting on some type of major road where they feel that they're going to be overrun by a vehicle.
Right.
So we've got to, it's a multi-pronged approach of making sure that our sidewalks are fully functional and available, that our bicycle trails have more of a purpose than entertainment and exercise, that our transit is invested into, and that our the roads that we're going to use are built to their best capacity. I'm not saying the biggest capacity, but their best capacity for what's in the community around them. There's no sense in my mind of turning 71 business into 3 lanes northbound and southbound each. A, we don't have the room. B, we're going to tick off a lot of people by taking their sidewalk and shoving it straight up onto their doorstep. We need to be doing the smart things with our very close-in future of being overwhelmed by people moving into Northwest Arkansas. I mean, when I first got here, I was telling all my friends, come to Northwest Arkansas. It's a beautiful place to be. Now I tell my friends, hey, just come by and visit because I don't want your other car on the road.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
No, it still is a beautiful place to be, but the cost of housing is going through the roof. The cost of doing business is going through the roof. I mean, it's nobody's fault. It's just the way the economy is going at this point in time. But we need to be able to do something right with public transit before we just don't do anything at all.
I mean, it seems like it's there's a lot that has to be done, but it's like you just kind of start with something small and kind of build from there. I'd be curious to know, with your travel around the country, what examples have you seen that give you hope for what we could do here in Northwest Arkansas? Because like I always tell people, there's nothing new under the sun.
No.
So people are iterating and doing things in other parts of the country that are things that you look at and you're like, I like that. That looks good. But what have you seen around the country that you're like, man, if I could bring that back to Northwest Arkansas, that would really help us out with this population explosion that we're experiencing now, and we expect to continue to experience well through the 2040s and 2050s.
So got to do some work in El Paso, Texas, and watch them open a bunch of substations for transit connectivity. Ben Franklin Transit up in the state of Washington is another one where they're just doing it right. They're investing into high frequency, 2-county, 3-city, I think, is Ben Franklin, but they've got connectivity to everything with a lot of high frequency in their corridors, their industrial and downtown corridors. Reno, Nevada is still one of my all-time favorites. 2 counties, 4 cities, and the frequency there for certain corridors. I mean, they don't touch everything. You're not supposed to touch everything with transit. You're supposed to touch where people are going to be. So we've got a couple of substations in the Reno area. I really like what they did up in the Quad Cities, Moline, Illinois, Bettendorf, Iowa. Just the fact that they've got 4 cities up there and 2 states crossing a river. They've done everything from school bus routes to having one garage for everything so that all maintenance was handled by one group. There's nothing, like you say, there's nothing under the sun that hasn't already been written. Now it's a matter of us taking the bits and pieces from these different organizations and applying them to Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah.
I think the greatest challenge that we have now outside of salary and personnel is the timeline. If we actually said today, what are we on? The 14th of July. 14th of July, ta-da, Joel, here's a 1/4% sales tax. You're going to get X amount of $1 million a year. The general public needs to understand that 24 months from now would be the first time they would publicly see that money going into action. I would collect that tax for the next 2 years, but I would have to place an order for vehicles. I would have to design, make sure, install, build shelters, elevated platforms. That all takes time. We can't put vehicles out there on the road without shelters and stops. We can't get vehicles for 20 to 24 months right now. There's not a McLarty Daniel out there that has buses on it. These guys won't build the bus until you cut the PO, and a lot of them won't build the bus anymore until you put down a percentage. And you go in the back of the line of the bus building process. There's no skipping ahead at all, and there's only a couple of major bus manufacturers in the U.S. anymore. Everybody else has been bought out or gone under kind of thing. So we've got a 2-year gap ahead of us from the time the general public says, yes, here's Ozark Regional Transit's independent funding stream, get to work. By the way, we're already working on it. It's just a matter we can't implement anything until we get the funding coming to us.
Yeah.
So, but it's going to be 2 years before they see the fruits of that labor.
Yeah. One of the things that you did mention to me before, and it was just kind of how you address the cultural resistance in this area. There's a lot of Ford F-150s riding around, a lot of people that like their big vehicles, their big cars, their big trucks. Nothing wrong with that. You know, and it's so funny. It's, as I think now, yeah, there are F-150s in Boston and New England and other places, but you don't see them as much because there are other options out there. But I'm curious to know, how will you address the cultural challenges that you face to get people to buy into, yeah, X%, tax is okay. And this is that, because these things are going to give us X, Y, and Z.
So you're going to get the smart ass of me coming out. First of all, yes, there's a lot of big trucks out there. And I would say probably 95% of them have never seen dirt before. So it's a status symbol. And that's just me being a smart aleck. I've got my great 2500 Dodge Ram. And if you look at it today, it looks like I rolled it in mud because I use it. I really do use my truck. But you've got a lot of people that are out there that are buying these vehicles because, they have that opportunity to let them buy that vehicle. But let's get them to look at public transit as another way of doing something. So the worst thing to have happen, and I'll pick on the Ford F-150, the worst thing to have happen on your Ford F-150 is for it to be in an impound lot. Why would it be in an impound lot? Well, because I went to a concert with my friends, and as I'm driving out after having 3 or 4 beers, I hit that station where the guys with the blue lights are stopping people and making sure everybody's safe, and I'm positive on a breathalyzer.
Right.
Well, guess what? My vehicle's getting impounded. I'm going to go spend a night with some friends that I never knew I had before, and it's going to cost me a shit ton of money to get this DUI out of my life. Why do we not have public transit enough in an area to where entertainment venues are served by public transit, and we've got a distance between a park and ride and that entertainment venue so that, number one, we are getting people through those DUI checkpoints, and number two, we're putting enough time under their, from the time they walk out of the venue to the time they get there in their own POV to get home. And hopefully we get them close enough to their home that they don't really have to do anything but walk. Another thing is, I like my Ford F-150, but then for me to take my wife to the airport at 6 o'clock in the morning, right now it's a chore. It really is a chore. And unless I'm living in Highfield, it is a chore to get to the airport. So I've got
to get up at 4.
I've got a time suck and I got a fuel suck. Well, let's put something in each one of the communities where we have a park and ride where, yes, I'm going to drop her off at the park and ride, but she's going to take transit to the airport itself.
And there's an automatic bus that's going there every day.
It's heading there and back. There's another sales pitch for it. I talk about the entertainment. I talk about getting out and about. I'm talking about finding a way for people to choose to use public transit. And I wish I had better public transit on Friday, this past Friday, between Springdale and Fayetteville. My daughter-in-law's car has a recall on it. She's got a Toyota, standard recall. Her husband's out of town, and my wife's out of town. And she calls me and says, hey, I think I need a ride over to Toyota so that we can get my car fixed. And then they're going to have it for a few hours, and I'm not going to stay there for a few hours with the baby. So can you do that running and back and forth? If we had public transit that served both communities really well, she could take her car over to Toyota Fayetteville, hop on the bus, maybe with a transfer, get back home in a short period of time. And when they called her and said, hey, your car's done, she could hop on the bus, make that transfer, get over to Toyota Fayetteville to pick her car up. That scenario happens all the time where people are using public transit to help them serve a need that they have in their day. I mean, come on, you're working in downtown Fayetteville where parking is a premium, and you got a buddy that comes in from out of town, or you've got an old friend that you want to meet for lunch, and you want to go to Tacos for Life, and you're in the downtown area. I can guarantee you, as soon as your car leaves that downtown parking spot, there's like 5-car hawks floating around, ready to dive down. Oh, yeah, your spot is gone. Use public transit in areas like that to get yourself. You may not use it at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, but you may use it at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. So selling public transit doesn't have to be in this grandiose give up your car, because I don't want you to give up your car, because I'm not giving up my car.
Right.
It's nothing grandiose like that. It is, hey, by the way, there's another option for you, as opposed to running your Ford F-150 from downtown Fayetteville to Evelyn Hills Shopping Center for Tacos for Life. You're wasting fuel. Why waste that fuel when you can actually take the time on transit when it's serving well?
Right.
So I don't know if that's a sales pitch or not, but
I think sometimes we have to leave some breadcrumbs for people to kind of figure out, okay, to connect the dots, right? Because people don't always connect the dots. It's not easy, especially in an area like this where we have been way more car reliant than in a place like Boston or San Francisco or LA, where you have a lot of public transit. So I just think it's one of those things where once you realize it and you see the value and benefit, you never want to go back.
Oh, yeah.
You never want to go back. It's like, so I grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey, and so I can catch New Jersey Transit and catch the 167 bus that will take me right through the Holland Tunnel, right into Midtown Manhattan in literally 30 minutes.
Yep.
No traffic, no nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and when we did that with my kids just this past Christmas, you know, they were like, man, it's so easy to do this. I would come here all the time. And I'm like, yeah, people do this every day. They ride this bus every day. But it's like, you know, there's going to come a point in time when, you know, we're going to have some buses up here that are going to drop people off at the home office up in Bentonville, that there's just going to be a regular frequency where you won't need to get in your car, but you'll be able to, you'll have reliable transit that will get you up to Bentonville every day in the morning, and you're not fighting a whole lot of traffic. And you can read a book. You can listen to a podcast. You can catch an extra, 30 minutes or 45 minutes of sleep without causing an accident. I mean, there's just multiple opportunities available to you if we were to exercise these options that are out there.
Yeah, and you bring up those options of things to do, because I've been challenged multiple times. Well, you can't go faster than the traffic that's out there. You're absolutely right. I'm not talking about going faster than the traffic.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is basically giving you something to do other than be frustrated when you get to work or get home.
Right.
I mean, people just get...
It's a quality of life issue.
They get pissed when they're on the road and they're stuck in traffic for 45 minutes for 15 miles. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But if somebody else is doing the driving and you are actually, like you say, podcasting, reading a book, you may be doing emails, you may be doing homework, you may be watching a freaking movie. It doesn't matter what you're doing. And texting your friends. You're not sitting there texting your friends while you're driving and creating another road hazard by being out there behind the wheel while you're texting.
Yeah.
I mean, I had one lady challenge me one year. She said, your public transit system will never affect me. And I looked at her. She was a Fayetteville resident, I think. And I said, Fayetteville resident working in Rogers or Bentonville. And I said, ma'am, my public transit system saves your life 40,000 times a year. And she looked at me like I was had a third head on my shoulders, and she didn't understand. And I said, well, we're moving 40,000 college students from the Springdale, Fayetteville area to the NWAC campus, and that's 40,000 times a year that you would have had to die if they were texting and driving. So I just saved your life. You should thank me. She didn't like that. I mean, I was a smart ass with it. But she didn't like me. She didn't like that response. She didn't like me after that. And I don't know that I've ever spoken to her again. But the reality is there. We will take people off the road that are texters and drivers. And I challenge you, that when you're on the road in traffic, and I don't care if you're at a stoplight in downtown Springdale or you're on 4 o'clock traffic, actually 5:15 traffic heading southbound on Interstate 49, you look around, you may be the only person around you that does not have their head buried in your phone.
It's like straight up, like I've seen people drive like, half a mile with their head down as if they're typing a novel or something. I'm just like, wow.
My wife and daughter don't like riding with me in the truck because I will look back and forth, left and right, everything else. I get to a stop sign and I see somebody texting and driving and I scream, "You're going to die," whether the window's up or not. I don't care. I scream, "You're going to die." My wife is embarrassed of that. And I'm like, well, they are going to die someday.
Right.
But they're just kind of, egging that thing along by texting and driving.
Yeah.
And besides, they're putting my life into jeopardy also.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I don't like my life being held in somebody else's texting hands.
No, not when they're sending some innocuous message that's not earth-shattering.
You got me on one of my soapboxes.
Yeah.
That's texting and driving. Texting and driving is the devil. That's all I'm going to say about that.
No, I got you. Well, man, I love this. We've gone for an hour talking about this subject. Yeah. There's so much that needs to be said. But this is, we're going to put a comma in this conversation because I do want to figure out a way to continue it, but I want to get this into the ears of those that need to listen to it, which are the general public here in Northwest Arkansas. And so I want to thank you again for just taking time out of your schedule to sit down and have this conversation with me. And this isn't a period. This is literally just a comma. We are going to continue this. But in the meantime, how do people get in either contact with you or contact with ORT? We'll make sure in the show notes that we get links to City Mapper and some of these other things that you mentioned. And I'm telling everybody that's listening to this, get the ORT On Demand app. It will be a game changer, especially if you have teenage kids and maybe they're not quite ready. Because, and here's the other thing. There's a lot of kids, like I'm struggling to get my 18-year-old to get his license.
Huh.
My 15-year-old, he's ready to go. The 20-year-old has his license, but the 18-year-old is like, so we're threatening him. We're like, dude, you got to get your license. And so, but if you don't have a license, how are you going to get around? Well,
but then again, do these kids really need a license now?
No. Well, that's a legitimate question. You've got Lyft, you've got Uber, you've got a lot of options that we didn't have when we were growing up.
Yes.
And so
let's give them public transit as another option. My daughter
more affordable.
My daughter does take from my house to her work. She does take Uber and or Lyft, whichever's cheaper at the time, because public transit doesn't serve that area yet.
Yeah.
But she does take that back and forth, and it costs her an hour's salary to get to work and back.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks. But some of the things that people can actually really dig into is, our website is www.ozark.org. Also look on City Mapper in your app store. Download that. Get that app. Also, ORT On Demand. That is powered by VIA.
It's actually a really good app.
Oh, yes.
I was very impressed. It's super easy to use. It will tell you if a ride is available. I have used it multiple times to get from where I live on the east side of Fayetteville over by Gully Park into town. And I've used it without fail. And most of the time, I'm the only person on there. Yep. But then there's a couple of times where other people have been picked up, but it's never been inconvenience. And I've gotten downtown, like where Ozark Natural Foods is, or downtown on Dixon in like 10, 15 minutes, which is great. It's perfect. And so I would encourage everybody to use it.
Yes. And it can be used in Springdale, Fayetteville, Rogers, and Bentonville.
Yeah.
That's where we've got it so far.
I never noticed on those ORT On Demand buses, if you have a bike, can you carry a bike on those?
Yes. The Fords have a double bike rack on the front.
Okay.
The Dodge Ram ProMasters have a double bike rack on the back.
Okay. All right. So that there you have an option.
Yes.
You have an option. So because there's more people using electric bikes, there's a lot of options. I've even thought about getting an electric bike so I don't have to, unless I have to get up to Bentonville or one of the other cities. If I'm just doing a lot of transactions in Fayetteville on the trail, I can get on my electric bike and pretty much go most of the places that I want to go.
Yep.
So,
and my challenge would be for somebody who's in the bicycle centric world, if you're going to ride the trail, it means you always have to ride the trail back.
Yeah.
Or you got to have a buddy that's going to go ahead and give up the trail riding so that they can meet you down there at the end of the trail with a vehicle that can haul your bikes back. We've designed our buses on the fixed route so that the seats can fold up And if the 2 bike racks in the front are full, then you start loading the bikes inside the bus itself. You have to maintain control of your own bike.
Sure.
So you could take a group of 8 people, hop on one of the buses. If you were going from Bentonville to Rogers and wanted to ride somewhere in Rogers, you could load your group up at the Bentonville Community Center, go all the way down to downtown Rogers at the Butterfly Park, bicycle all the way around Lake Atalanta if you'd never done that before, get back on the bus, and now take it back over to Bentonville Community Center where your vehicles are. You don't have to have somebody chase you and your group in a secondary vehicle.
Yeah.
You can use public transit for what it's intended to do, and that is to move you and your group around. And in Northwest Arkansas, we understand how bicycle-centric we are, so we've designed our buses to go ahead and handle bicycles on the inside. The only caveat to that is if somebody in a mobility device shows up and you're taking up that space, too much space for them to get on the bus, you've got to get off with your bicycle.
Right. Which is understandable.
Yes.
I mean, I think we haven't devolved in society that much where we're not going to be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to give my ride to somebody in a wheelchair any day. So, I mean, it's not an issue. So, yeah, I mean, I love that. I think that's great. And I'm glad we ended on that note because we are such a bicycle-centric area and so many people actually come here and to recreate and to take holiday in Northwest Arkansas for all of the bike trails, mountain bike and otherwise. So that it's good for people to know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. Well, listen, Joel Gardner, this has been a pleasure. And as I said, this is a comma, not a period. So we're going to continue this conversation. But for now, I want to challenge everybody listening to this to get ORT On Demand on your phone.
Yes.
And if you can use it in your area, because I know there's like some places, like even in Fayetteville, like on the west side of Fayetteville, where you can't get ORT On Demand yet.
Right.
But if you're in that Paragon that you described, Polygon, or what did you call it? Polygon that you described, this is it's a chance for you to try it out.
Yes.
And you will not, if you live on the east side of Fayetteville, there is no excuse for you not to be using ORT On Demand, especially if you don't have the car available or if somebody had to take it to work or, you know, it's in the shop. This is an option for you and it will just save you some time. And I welcome it. So
beautiful.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for joining us on this episode of the podcast.
It's a pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
Well, folks, there you have it. Another episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. I want to give a shout out to the Walton Family Foundation, who is a sponsor of this particular episode. And I just want to thank them in general for the work that they do, not just in Northwest Arkansas, but beyond there. But the Walton Family Foundation and their home region group, they have a lot of focuses for Northwest Arkansas. And one of those focuses is transportation. And we're so glad we were able to have this conversation with Joel and the great folks here at Ozark Regional Transit. So we hope this is helpful for you. If you're thinking about making a move here to Northwest Arkansas, we're getting our stuff together, just like Joel said. So this is a place for you to come and to grow with us. So we're not going to be the same place in 2030 that we are today in 2025, nor are we going to be the same place in 2040 than we are today. So I really want to encourage you to be a part of the change that you so desperately seek. And there's a lot of good things happening. And if you see Joel out in the wild, just encourage him. Just say, hey, keep going, man. You know, make it happen. Buy him a coffee or something like that, because this is not an easy job. But, you know, we need champions in our community like Joel that are making a difference on a daily basis, especially when it comes to transit and transportation related matters, because, hey, we have to get from point A to point B on a regular basis. So Joel's here trying to solve those problems for all of us. And I would encourage you to support him and ORT at every turn that you can. So that's it. That's all we have for this week's episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. It was a little bit longer than normal, but I think you're going to enjoy this. You may have to break it up into 2 sections to listen to it. But, you know, that's one 30-minute treadmill ride today and another 30-minute treadmill run tomorrow. So, but that's all I have for you this week on I Am Northwest Arkansas. We'll see you back here next week with another brand new episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. Peace. This episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas is supported by the Walton Family Foundation's Home Region program, dedicated to building a vibrant, inclusive region through community-led work in schools, housing, entrepreneurship, culture, and transportation. Thanks again to the Walton Family Foundation's Home Region program for supporting this special series. Catch you next time on I Am Northwest Arkansas. Searching for local businesses in Northwest Arkansas just got easier. From restaurants to roofers, boutiques to baristas, FindItNWA.com connects you to the best local businesses with just one click. Discover something local, something great. Visit FindItNWA.com today. Find it fast, find it local, FindItNWA.com.